Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Google Plus Hangout, Channels Beam Google Plus Hangout. Actually, today we're going to be looking at the state of the nation. Of course, on the Hangout, I have three people. I have Gbenga Alorun for me. He's calling from Lagos in Nigeria. Gbenga is actually babysitting, and he has his baby with him on the Hangout. Gbenga, say hi to your baby. And then we have Merit Nwajon. Merit is calling from London in the United Kingdom. And we have Sonny Kiri. Sonny is calling from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. So Sonny has just fallen out of the hangout, but we'll come back to him. So we're looking at the state of the nation. So much has been said, so much is happening, so much drama here and there. Where exactly would you place the state of the nation? Merit, let me start with you.
Hello, yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Merit.
Yeah, honestly, I think the picture we are getting from here in London is not actually helping. In fact, everybody's panicking, making calls to their families, you know, because but when we call back home, we get a different picture. People don't give us the impression that it is as worse as they've been is being you know publicized over here. But however, I think the Nigerian government is also trying, their best in trying to combat, first and foremost, this insurgency that's going on now, creating havoc everywhere in Nigeria. But I think they still have a lot to do because the whatever impact they have placed is not actually enough because it doesn't seem as if they are winning the war because it's getting worse every day.
All right, Merit, thanks for your contribution. Just before I continue with Sonny and Benga, Abdul Latif Abdul Salam just joined. Abdul Latif, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon.
All right, Abdul Latif, thank you for coming on the hangout. But your audio is bouncing.
Okay.
Yes, if
Let
you
me see.
if you sit properly and in the light again.
All right.
All
Can you
right,
hear me now?
I can hear you now, Abdul Latif. I know you are in the United States, but where exactly are you?
Oops. I'm in Chicago.
Okay, Chicago. Great, nice to have you on the hangout. Before I come back to you, let me get to Sonny. Sonny, you just heard the question and you heard the contributions of Merit. What's your take on where we are presently? Talking about the state of the nation.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think for a peaceful country like Nigeria to be in this situation is very bad. But I want to say, for we to overcome these terrorists as a nation, we have to be united and we have to speak one voice because immediately when we are divided, they will be thinking that they are winning the fight against the government. So the only way the government and Nigeria will defeat this fight is for everybody to unite and fight this fight. But in a situation whereby when there is a blast, you hear people criticizing the government, they are incapable, they are this, they are that. It's not helping even the security agencies to fight the fight because what we are talking here is not people that have camp in a particular place that you are fighting. These are faceless people. They might be in this Google Hangout, you don't know. They are living with us, we don't know who they are. So it's for everybody in Nigeria to involve in this fight to overcome these people. And when I'm talking everybody, it's not only the government or the, the, the leaders. It involves everybody in Nigeria, even our media houses, because they are not giving us what we needed as because the kind of information they are passing to us is like they are speaking for some time like the terrorist groups because some of their write-up and headlines I'm hearing and I'm seeing online is not encouraging as a nation. And these people gain their popularity through media. So what I want everyone in that our country to do is for we to come together and speak one voice so that we can be able to overcome these people that making Nigeria unsafe for us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sonny, for your contribution. But just before we continue, Benga has been hanging on. Benga, I'll be coming to you now. Of course, you've heard contributions of some of our speakers. Where exactly will you place the state of the nation, Benga Olorupami?
Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon.
I think we're at a crossroad. I think we are in the worst situation that we can be ever in the history of this country. And I think even we as citizens, we are stuck with the choices that we have made or the mischoices that we have made. So instead of making tracks and making plans on a way forward, we are trying to shift blames and emphasis around. Only yesterday, last night, a bomb went off in Jos, which happens to be a city I know very well, and all of a sudden, the conversation I was having about the competence or incompetence of the present government became one where all I had to do was to mention the bomb in Jos, and that conversation ended. We are at a situation where even the girls that have been kidnapped, I'm not sure if bringing them back home is safe. I'm thinking, is it even safer for them to be with the terrorists than to be back home? Because we are facing as much despair as they might be facing sitting and living with the terrorists. Now, one of the speakers was saying that we should unite and, push this terrorism away. The question I ask that speaker is, has the federal government of Nigeria done enough to show that they are willing to win this war? Have they shown enough honesty that they have everything they need to win the war? The Minister for Finance mentioned a particular figure as the amount that has been released. So many, almost 200 billion that has been released this year to the military. The military is still claiming to be underfunded. So who is lying? How am I, a citizen of Nigeria, supposed to help the federal government to fight a war when the federal government itself is not being honest with itself? So that is the crossroads that we are right now. We don't know exactly who the terrorist is. We don't know the president himself admitted the other time that he had Boko Haram had infiltrated his government. So exactly who is the enemy, we do not know. That's the situation that we're in now. I think we're at a crossroads, and it's up to us, majorly though, up to the federal government to take us out of this quagmire.
All right, bring up. You just from your submission rather, you were throwing a question back at one of the contributors who spoke about unity to fight Boko Haram. Before I go back to that person to answer you, I would first of all like to welcome Abraham Awobem. Abraham, thanks for joining the Hangout. Where are you calling from, please? Can you come again, Abraham? Abraham, we can't hear you. Okay, we can't hear you. I think you need to sort your audio first, and then we'll get back to you. All right, and then also we have Omotola Abdul Latif, who just joined. Omotola, thanks for coming on the Hangout. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Fort Worth in Texas, United States of America.
All right, thank you, Omotola. We'll get back to you. And we also have Shoyemi Adiola. Shoyemi, thanks for coming on the program. Where are you calling from? Shoyemi, can you hear me? All right, Shoyemi, you need to sort your audio and your video as well just before we come back to you. And so talking about Benga's question, Sonny, you had one talking about unity and Benga has just dropped this poser for you. How do you respond to what he just said?
And how if the federal government is sincere or the military is honest?
Exactly.
It's all about. That doesn't mean that we can't be united in fighting terrorism. For instance, even some of the top government officials have made publicly that our army have not been funded as it used to be in the military days. And if we really want to fight these terrorists, I don't want to agree that Nigerian army is not well equipped to fight them, because fighting these people is not something that, okay, they are in this end, we are in this place, let's start the battle. No. If we want to fight these fights and win them, it's not all about funding. But that have a huge impact to play, but it's we the people. The federal government will keep on calling. If we want to number them, they are not even up to let me say they are not even up to 2 or 3,000 people. We are talking about 170 million people. If we are not united and join hands together with them, how do you think even the military can succeed? If we see any suspicious act and we don't report it, and we don't work together with them, how do you think they might be able to succeed? Let me make an example. When the U.S. tracked down Osama bin Laden, do you think it's all about the military in the U.S.? But people work together with them to give them information. So if the issue of funding have a huge role to play, but if we are not united as a nation, if you like, give the military everything they want of dollars, they will not succeed, because we don't have a task and we don't know what we are fighting for. So therefore, if we want to conquer this world, it's for we as a nation to unite. So that I still stand that.
If I may.
Thank you.
All right, Sonny, thanks for that. Thanks for putting back for answering your Benga's question. But then, if I'm to go back and forth, of course, we're going to be having so much to say. Abdul Latif Abdul Salam has been waiting on the hangout, and he's going to be making. Abdul Latif, I'll be coming to you. You've heard the previous contributors made their submissions. Where do you stand? What exactly do you feel? How best can you describe the state of the nation at the moment?
From my point, I would say lack of education and trust is the main problem we have in Nigeria. Most Nigerians do not know what to do at what time, and also they don't trust the system. If, for instance, I have information that a bag that is containing something is in this bus, a typical Nigerian would just leave the bus gently and run away. They don't have a communication system to alert the right authority, to make the right emergencies. Everyone just flies away because we don't even trust the system. So I think
the system has consistently failed.
Yes, it consistently failed. So as I agree with Sonny that we should all unite together and all of that, it's true. But then if you all unite and we don't even trust ourselves, we don't trust the system, it can't work. You understand? So I would still put the problem back to the tables of the government to say they are at fault and they need to address it. I know the Nigerian problem is not just a Nigerian problem; it's a system problem. It's we ourselves as the problems. You understand? But we need to start having strategies in place to start addressing some of these things. Boko Haram is just one out of a million problems we have. The Agbero boys on the street of Lagos, they themselves are a terrorist group if they want to. If they want to wake up today and cause a big havoc, they can easily without anything. So someone being in Sambisa forest and trying to claim a right on something is just one out of 1,000 people. The polytechnic students have been on strike for how many months right now? If they want to cause if they want to cause a real stoppage to everything that is happening in Nigeria right now, they can, and they have the right. You understand? So those boys that are hungry because they can't be educated in the university is also a form of the government being a Boko Haram against them, because right now they're denying them education, they're denying them the basic rights that they need. So the Nigerian system has failed in every right. Everybody can be a Boko Haram. So terminology or nomenclature we give ourselves is not the issue. The issue is, as a Nigerian state, what can we address to help ourselves in terms of education, in terms of communication, in terms of trust, in terms of security, in terms of integrity. So everyone that's been at government integrity at all positions. So that's the major challenge. How do we come back as a nation and restore our integrity and our trust within our system?
All right, Absalam, you just made mention, and thank you first of all for your submissions, but you also made mention of a million problems that Nigeria has. I won't take you up on that. Instead, I'll take Omotala Abdulateef, who has also been on the Hangout and he's been waiting to make his submission. But just before we do that, we have Mbaseki Martin Obono. If you can hear me, Mbaseki, thanks for coming on the Hangout. Mbaseki? All right, I guess you have to sort out your audio first. Omotala Abdulateef.
Yeah.
How would you best describe? I mean, your well, I can say that he's your namesake. He just made mention of a million problems that is bedeviling Nigeria.
Yeah. I think one of my own major submission on this program is that the problem Nigeria is having right now is being caused, probably everything stops with the government. I mean the federal government. I think sometimes ago, General Sani Abacha made mention of one statement. He said, if insurgency lasts more than 24 hours in Nigeria, it has the backing or the involvement of the government in it. The military, the Navy, the Air Force, the budget of the Nigerian security is being handled by the federal government. And these people are claiming they are not being motivated, they are not being taken care of. When I was in Nigeria, like when the issue of kidnapping, abduction happened, the Nigerian military spokesperson, after 2 days, came out and said they've released those guys, they've secured their release. How could they come up on board or come on air and give Nigerians such information when they've not even taken any significant action on that issue? You see, these things baffled me a lot, and I was like, what kind of we're running? The military can come out and tell us, oh, they've secured those girls and the release and so on. That means they are just trying to give us what is not really. Hello? Hello?
Go ahead, Abdulateef, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just really not happy about the way the federal government has been handling the insecurity situation in Nigeria, particularly in the area of policing. Let them give states some kind of legal backing to have some community policing. Lagos State is doing a little bit better because the security trust fund they generated from people, from organizations in Lagos, they are using it to motivate the police officers around in Lagos, and everybody is going on their normal business. The same thing is happening in Oyo, Ogun and stuff like that. Everybody in Anambra, they are creating a security trust fund to motivate and support the police, and which invariably is helping them in one way or the other. And I don't think none of the northern part of the country has such program in terms of security. So the federal government should give a legal backing to state policing so that the states too can employ. Because if I'm a police officer now and I'm being transferred to Maiduguri, I don't speak Hausa, I don't know any of those. So if somebody comes to me and said, Oga Mirinya or something like that, I don't know what he's talking about. So they can't really even have that freedom, that free will to come to me and give me a security or something that has to do with my job. They want to look at me as if I don't know, I'm not part of them. So community policing and state policing or whatever they wanted to call it should be given a second thought. That's my submission.
All right. Thank you for that submission. Of course, you are calling for the federal government to give legal backing and to ensure that state policing it's approved and is embraced just as it is where you are. That's the United States of America. But just before we continue, of course, we have two people who we are yet to find out where they're calling from. That's talking about Abraham Awobem. Abraham, if you can hear me now, good afternoon and thank you for coming on the program.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm calling from Hull in England.
Oh, okay. Thanks for joining the Hangout. Actually, let me just keep you up to speed. We've been talking about the state of the nation, where it is right now, where you think it should be. But then, yeah, we've made mentions of some problems that we're facing. But in your own instance, in your own view, what is one of those million problems that Abdul Salam Abdul Latif made mention of that hasn't been made mention of on this Hangout?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I think on average, everyone understands what the problems are that we have in Nigeria. You see, I don't like talking too much about the problems. I would rather we looked at possible solutions. I don't think it needs any further telling that right now Nigeria is not where it should be. For those of us who are not on ground in the country, we closely follow the news. And of course, we've got families back home. So we have a fairly good idea of what's going on. No thanks to the 200 Girls saga, the bulk of the world right now do know what's going on in Nigeria. As an example, I'll mention this. I work in the health sector, and I saw a 78-year-old man who's never been to Nigeria before, who's coming to have some treatment. And straight away he asked me where I was from. I told him I was from Nigeria originally. And the next thing he was talking Boko Haram. I was taken aback, So that's how much the whole world is aware of what's going on. So we know the problems, and I don't want to belabor that, but we should talk about solutions now. I think a huge part of what's going on in the country right now is the failure of intelligence. Okay, we're in 2014. The tools, to a large extent, intelligence is made a lot easier these days. And I don't know why our government have not focused on 2014 level intelligence gathering. I'm amazed we're still talking, well, the military is being infiltrated, well, the political class is being infiltrated, and yet we can't put names to faces. We can't point out who are these people who have been compromised. Surely it can't be that difficult if you had a proper intelligence network, as obtained in many parts. And thanks to technology, it's a lot easier these days. The average Nigerian has a cell phone or more. The average Nigerian uses the internet, and these are tools that you can very easily use to track someone down. These days, you have softwares that scan every email, every text message. There are certain words that are red flag words. So if you send a text message and there's a red flag word, you send an email, there's a red flag word. These are things that technology is so readily available these days to pick this up. The other aspect, of course, is in terms of our the integrity of our borders. Now, it doesn't take a whole lot to send a satellite into space, contracting it out. We can afford to. For under $50 million or thereabout, we can afford to do that. And even if you don't want to send out one of your own, you can easily buy, if you like, quote and unquote, with WIDTH or from someone who already has the system available. And that way you can literally track people down to individuals, wherever they may be within the borders of your country. So the days we don't have to build walls around the whole perimeter of the country to be able to monitor the borders of our country. But I still feel that failure of intelligence is a big thing the country needs to look at. In a way, this whole saga is a blessing in disguise, in the sense that finally, hopefully, our leaders will wake up. We'll see it as a wake-up call. Enough damage has been done, enough sorrows, enough heartache. Now it's time to begin to repair. It's not going to take a day. It's not going to take a month. But the process must start. That will now has to be generated, because some people might feel, okay, well, I'm far away from where the bombing is happening. You never know. We got family. We got friends. I schooled in the University of Jos. And so when the bomb went off, just very close to the teaching hospital, which is a place I know very well, it gripped my heart. I still got friends in Jos. I still got family in Jos, So I think it's time for our leaders to please wake up and, do the needful. I'll just rest my case there at this time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your submission. In a nutshell, you're trying to say that we need more intelligence to be put in place in the country to ensure that these things, the intelligence networks, pick up these threats before they're actually carried out. But I can see. I mean, despite the fact that it is a hangout to discuss the state of the nation, I can see that Mbaseke Martin Obono, can you hear us now? Can you come again, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you for calling, for joining the hangout. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the United Kingdom.
All right. Thank you for joining. And I can see you're good friends with Winga Gold. You guys have been, chatting, and I'm looking at the chat box. I see you guys.
Winga is my boss.
Oh, okay. I guess you guys will have to pay me for this reunion. All right, so just back to what we're talking about. What's your take on this issue? I mean, they've raised so many issues. Some have spoken about bad leadership. Some have spoken about lack of intelligence. There's so much. What's your take on what's going on in the country?
Well, like I always say, Nigeria is a place where we like to live or cohabit peacefully, until the whole issue of politics got in and decided to divide and to divide us and separate us and make us look like we are all strangers to each other. So for me, fundamentally, the problem is the problem we have in Nigeria is a problem of politics and the political class trying to divide and rule us, and everybody is trying to create his own kind of create his own constituency where he or she can use to basically negotiate power at the center. So that's what I see, and that's what I think is the problem of Nigeria today. Beyond the whole insecurity, beyond the whole religiosity, beyond the entire spectrum of poverty, I think the fundamental problem is that we have politicized everything. And we are politicizing everything because we want to divide the people and then rule them. So that's why you see the whole Boko Haram issues, the whole issue of insurgency, left, right, and center. We now hear of one again in the Middle Belt, is it Umbasa or something they call it. Now, all this is that everybody is trying to create his own territory so that they can use it to negotiate power and hold on to power as well. That's the way I see it. You see, the point of poverty again and deprivation in the country is also about power and sharing. People don't want to do what is right. Elected political office holders don't want to do what is right because they want to amass more wealth and use it to make sure that they buy the people and get the control of the people. They don't want to do what is right because they want to hand out. They want to give the people handouts at the end of the day, so that they will feel they'll have the sense of master to servanthood. So these are all the problems of Nigeria. But in all this, I think it is it's like somebody rightly said, while you're dealing with problems, you deal with problems based on intelligence. Security problems, you have to deal with them based on intelligence gathering. You have to deal with them based on state policing. You have to deal with them in sense of, in another way of maybe respecting the rights of the people. I mean, fundamental rights of the people. If someone's rights is being breached, how do you get to fundamentally address these rights? If someone is seeking redress in courts, does the person have enough faith in the judiciary to be able to feel that, okay, if I take this matter to court, I will get redress for this matter and I'll get justice? These are the whole problem of Nigeria that makes people feel there is injustice in the system, and so they have to take the laws in their own hands. So if we can address this fundamental problem, if the judge in the bench is able to say, okay, this matter is brought before the court because the court is the hope, is the hope of the last hope of the man. I can't remember how the statement is basically coined, but the court is everybody's last hope. So if the judge decides to give justice, and the police decides to police well, and the teacher decides to teach well, and everybody does their jobs, I think Nigeria will be a better society. Most of these problems will be solved but the point is that people don't want to do their jobs because of corruption still. I don't want to do my job. I want to be begged to do my job. I want to be cajoled to do my job. So when all these things are scattered all around, you now realize that there will be too many problems to handle, and nobody is. The problem will be overwhelming for even the number one person. That's why you see, I think I read somewhere where President Olusegun Obasanjo said that Jonathan is overwhelmed, and that's the truth. Jonathan is overwhelmed because the problems are way too many, and they are just surfacing one after the other surrounding him, and it makes him look much more clueless than we thought he was. So if the whole problem is not, for me, is not just about leadership, like the leadership it's not just about the fact that people at the top are not doing their responsibilities, but it's because so much injustice has been done for too long and it has been left unaddressed or unattended. So that is why you're having much more injustices building from the previous injustices that have been in the society.
All right, Basake, thanks for your submission. You just made so much points, but then I'll still go back to the fact that Basake, where are you calling from in United Kingdom?
I'm calling from Wales at the moment.
Okay, Wales, great. That's good. Okay, just to look back at what Abraham made mention of, talking about intelligence. Last week, the police announced that they averted this what would have been another bomb blast. So I think they're actually putting steps. I mean, they're putting efforts, making efforts to see that these things are addressed. Bomb blasts are curbed. Injustices are not, of course, meted out to a certain people. So how would you put it? How would you say they've tried? What efforts have you seen in your instance? I just made a case of what I heard and saw from the Nigerian police force. Winga, let me take you on this. What can you say you think you have seen the government do just?
Well, it would be wrong for anybody to say that the federal government...
Go ahead, Winga.
Okay. It would be wrong for anybody to say that the federal government hasn't done anything. And I agree with my friend Martins, who said the president is probably overwhelmed. But I'm going to say this without any kind of apology. The president should have known the kind of responsibility he was taking on when he took the vow to protect Nigeria. Yes, the police are doing what they can within their limited resources, and limited training. And I agree with those who say that terrorism is new to us, so we're learning as we go. But we don't have to. I don't think we have to go through all the mistakes that America went through, all the errors that Pakistan went through, all the errors that Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, all those places that terrorism has took root. I don't think we have to go through all those mistakes for us to get it right. There's a template on ground. Now, I'm one of those guys who, at the beginning of the insurgency, said that at the beginning of the state of emergency that was declared in those 3 states, that we were going to get it wrong, because I didn't see there any clear strategy that was going to involve the locals, the people on ground. How were we going to use the people on ground to achieve safety in those places? There was nothing like that. I met one of the JTF guys like a few weeks ago, and he told me the major reason the civilian JTF was set up was because soldiers, whenever a soldier was killed, the entire battalion, whatever it is, would invade the closest village and raise it down to the ground. So there's no trust between the locals and the soldiers, meaning that the locals who should be feeding the soldiers with information probably even fear the soldiers more than they fear the insurgents. Now, that issue is a failure of government, and I still ask this question: where is the law protecting whistleblowers? You and I know that today, if you go to a police station and report an offense, you will be the first person that will be held. There is no law protecting you from reporting a case and then or even rewarding you for reporting cases. So exactly what it is that how exactly are you going to get the people to help you to achieve your aim of security? As we're speaking, these 200, over 200, close to 300 girls this is like the 49th or 45th day they are spending in the outside the comfort of their homes. It is not fair. These girls could have been rescued on the day the kidnap happened, but because our army dilly-dallied, because the federal government took its time in sorting out the issues, we are at this point today where we have American drones, United Kingdom drones, and so who else knows? They are all here. Now the whole world knows how incompetent our government is. So moving forward, how are we going to get off this quagmire? One, the federal government has to start showing a little bit more honesty. They have to be more straightforward with the people. Tell us exactly what your deficiencies are. Start being honest about how much you have put into the military and how much has been spent on training, on weapons acquisition, on intelligence. I mean, you don't have to tell me how much you are paying people to go and rat on Boko Haram, but let us know exactly what you are putting in, then we can measure what is coming out. Then the people themselves will just have to take a leap of faith and trust the government. I know it's not easy. I know the government hasn't done enough to earn this trust, but maybe it's time to take a leap of faith. And also, I agree with the man who was talking about maybe the governors should be given more support. Yes, maybe it's time to start to revisit the issue of state police, which is really, really vital at this point in time. All those who are blaming the governor of Borno for not doing much so far, I ask you the question, what was he supposed to do? The Constitution gives the power of security, of protection in the hands of the president. So there's nothing the governor can do. So until that Constitution is changed or amended to make governors, able to probably set up local police or do whatever it is that they can do to secure their people, we should stop blaming them. Federal government bears the brunt, and I hope from now on they'll start taking better steps in solving the issue. Thank you very much.
All right, Benga, I do also hope that the proper steps have been taken. Of course, we know some steps though have been taken. But during while you were talking, I could see Abraham was listening carefully Martins also was listening carefully. Abdul Latif was nodding his head in concurrence. You know, even Sonny was actually listening. But then I know they also have their reservations and they also have things to add. I'll just go through all of you. It will be quick. It will be short because we're actually overrunning. We've fast spent our time. So Sonny, what can you say? You know, in terms of how the government has tried to make these things come to an end.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure, go ahead.
I will say they have tried, but what they have done is not enough. So we want them to step up their games so that they can be able to take absolute control of everything that is going on in the country. Because that is the only country we have. Even though we are in abroad, we are still going to come back there. So what I want every, be it local government chairman, from local government to the presidency, let everybody wake up together and try to work with the locals, because I don't want to believe that people don't know these people. They know these Boko Haram people. They are living with us. They are not from the forest.
Yes.
They are humans. They live among us. So therefore, we have to try to build up confidence with one another, even mostly like what Merit said about the giving out information to the security agency. So these are things the government can do with the locals authority to enable everlasting peace. Because without this, the military cannot just go in there and get anything, because these people are not in one particular place whereby you will go and raid them. So all we need to do is for we to get information from the locals. If you see any suspicious movement, you report it, and that is the only way we can solve this entire problem. Thank you.
All right. So just as you know, Gbenga was talking, there was a comment that was made coincidentally by Sonny in the chat box. You know, talking about the governor now, saying the governor is the #1 man in his state, but Gbenga disagrees, saying, despite the fact that he is #1 in the state, the IG is the one who picks the police commissioner. So that means he takes out the issue of responsibility of security from the governor. I'd like to take you on this, Abraham. What do you think about this issue? I mean, the governor being #1 man in his state. Who should you think we should hold responsible?
Well, it's a joint effort, isn't it? It is a joint effort. The governor is the chief security officer of his state, and true, he's limited because he doesn't have the tools directly to hand. But then he can work hand in hand with the person who happens to be the commissioner of police for that state. You know, every state has a security council, you know, and it's about liaising. I mean, the fact that he's the chief security officer in the state does not mean he's particularly unduly limited because because the commissioner of police is not answering directly to him. Even though that's the case, if there are areas of conflict, remember that the governor can directly appeal to the presidency to resolve the issue. So it's not like he's completely incapacitated and helpless, even just because there's no state police. Now, I'm not necessarily averse to the concept of state police. I'm not 100% sure how mature our polity is at this time to allow each state to have their own police. Because there's this danger that at the end of the day, the governor might just use the police as a tool when it comes to electioneering time to oppress his opponents. That danger is always there. It could be trialed and staged. For instance, you can limit the role of the state police to certain areas of the jurisdiction and leave some other areas to the federal police. You know, and you can do it in a staged fashion. You can even roll it out, in a staged fashion, so it doesn't have to be all over the country at the same time. You can select states from each of the 6 geopolitical zones and trial it for a period and see how it goes. of course, with the cooperation of the National Assembly and other arms of government. But even before then, before we get there, because that's not a solution immediately to hand right now, even if we're going to do state police, it's going to take a few years to get them well established on the ground. The question is, what can we do right now with the problem we've got at hand now? What we can do now is that the state governments can establish supportive agencies. So they may not bear arms, but nothing stops them from gathering intelligence. I'm still particular about this intelligence thing, because if you look at a lot of the places that have had issues with terrorism, the reason it has not got worse than it is because of intelligence. Time and again, in the UK, for instance, we hear the Metropolitan Police come out to say they foiled this attack, they foiled that attack, they foiled so many. Apart from the July 7th event a few years ago, there's not been any major success because of the heavy work being done by the intelligence agencies. They nip any plan in the bud long before it matures and materializes. And the state governments can support in this role. The state governments know their people better than the federal government does. So I still want that issue of intelligence gathering to be hammered, and the states there's no law preventing the state from doing that at the moment. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Abraham, for just throwing more light on that issue. Merit, you've been quiet for a while, and I know you've been trying to say a lot of things, but then just before I come back to you, I see you, Osai Chidozie. I don't know if you can hear me. Osai, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon. We see you've been coming on and going out of the hangout, but then thanks for coming on. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Abuja.
All right, thank you for joining the hangout. I'll get back to you, but just before I do that, I also see Chikezie. It's actually Dozie AKZ. Dozie, thanks for joining the hangout.
I'm calling from
Dozie, can you hear me?
Ouagadougou.
Okay,
yes, from Burkina.
Okay, that's Burkina Faso. Thank you for coming on the program. All right, and also I see Garrett Martin. Garrett, if you can hear me or if you can see us, of course you can see us and hear us, but we can't see you. Where are you calling from? Okay, so Garrett is only here to listen, he says. All right. Okay, he's at work, and so he can't show his video and he can't talk. Anyways, thanks for joining the hangout. We come back to you. So back to you now, Mary. I was talking about what your reservations are. I mean, what your thoughts are on some of these things that were mentioned by Benga, Sonny, and just now, Abraham. What is it you have in mind to say?
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for your contributions. It's quite encouraging. But I got a couple of things to say. One of them is one of the speakers said that we are fighting a faceless group, but I tend to disagree with him. They are not faceless, because a couple of days ago I happened to speak to one of CBS news correspondent, Deborah Pratt, and beside I've just I posted one of a video clip on my Facebook wall, whereby she had an access to one of the commanders of this Boko Haram, who actually lives in Abuja, the nation's capital, to speak with him. So you can't tell me that they are faceless. She went there and spoke with him in his own mansion. He lives in a very big mansion. If you go to my Facebook, you see the video upload there. She spoke with them. So you don't tell me that they are faceless. And some time ago, I saw one of the Al Jazeera correspondents, the lady, I forgot her name now. She actually went to one of those, I think, is it called Gambolu, I think, in Maiduguri side. It's very close to Maiduguri. She actually went there inside the camp where those insurgents based and spoke with them. So if anybody's saying that we are fighting a faceless people, they are not actually. I think I tend to disagree with them, because it's not correct. Something is not correct there, because if the foreigners, correspondents, could actually have access into their camps, speak with them, how come our own local medias don't have access to speak with those people. So they actually know who they are. If foreigners knows where they are, goes to their camp, speak with them, and they make their own contribution and moderate. So how can you say that they are? How can you say that they are faceless? I tend to disagree with that. That's one. And number two, one of our speaker, forgot his name, the gentleman from Hull. He often mention about intelligence gathering. Yes, it's quite. That's exactly how it's been done here in the UK. Intelligence matters a lot, but look at it. The Nigerian government, especially our security network, lacks coordination. That's one. Two, there's no database in Nigeria. Go to the. I was in Nigeria recently, so when one of my friends happened to have an issue, so we went to the police station, one of the big station in Lagos. I don't know, is it called or Balande, sort of, So I just saw them. They are struggling, looking for paper where they write stuff in a very big institution, that happens to be one of the headquarters of a Nigerian police. They are struggling, looking for how to document, a case. So they lack. There's no database, and again, in this 21st century, especially in 2014, every average security operative, even the security people in some of our local shops here in London, in UK generally, has communication gadgets, not your phone. I mean, the radio message, which gives information. It passes information quicker than your phone, because your phone takes a lot of processes, dialing and looking for the numbers. But with your radio message, you just tap it, pass the information across, and almost all your security network has received the information, and they make use of it immediately. I also happened to watch one of the video clips of all those insurgents, especially the one in the Maiduguri. They are well coordinated, heavily coordinated. Almost all of them have got a radio message, and the latest and most expensive ones. So they are well coordinated. Our security forces fighting without coordination. There is no information gathering at all. There is no information shared. And in fact, some of them are lost in the bush there without even knowing who they are fighting again. There were a lot of friendly firing, because they were in the midst of people where they lost. They don't even know who is among them and who is against them. They lack a lot of coordination. The Boko Haram group is highly coordinated, and in fact, I must say, they are not illiterate. They speak correct English. Most of them, which I've seen on the radio, who actually spoke some of these radio correspondents and the television, they speak good English. So you don't tell me that they are illiterate. They are well educated. Our government is not actually serious in fighting this terrorism, because there are a lot of issues. We have a lot of uncertainties in this fight. One, a few years ago, about 2 years now, there was a discovery in one of the Nigerian seaports in Lagos of armed shipment, and some Iranians were being arrested. Till today, we don't know actually what happened to those Iranians that was arrested. I saw in those containers rocket launchers, RPGs, sophisticated weapons, and arms. And we don't know actually those weapons, how many of them has been, transported into the country. Those custom officers working at the wharf there, How well equipped are they? Communication gadget to share information with other security networks. You know, now we don't even know those Iranians that were arrested a couple of years ago. What happened to them? There is no information. You don't update our citizens with information to know actually what is going on. So we see it as if our government, they're actually hiding something. Something is not right somewhere.
All right. I'd have to hold you here. Just like I said earlier, we've far spent our time. We're actually overrunning, but just for the benefit of making your contributions, Osai, I'll just give you a few seconds to to say one or two things just before we wrap this conversation. Of course, Dozie, I see you too. I'll let you make your contribution in very few lines. So, Osai, what's your thoughts?
My thought on this is, I think we as an individuals, we should also try as much as we can to give an accurate information to our government. Likewise, our government to the citizens. Like the speaker that just spoke last, he was mentioning about arms that were shipped into Nigeria. Now, in that aspect, like the Nigerian Navy, the government should help them in bringing in more vessels, as in warships, that will man her AOR, that is area of operations, in order to counter all these terrorism firings, which have been happening in our own waterways. That was my own area of view, like government helping a citizen and citizens giving accurate information to government. Not that it is happening in this place, you're giving a bad information that it is not happening there. Why it was happening in that place? Like the bomb blast that happened in Nyanya or something. Now, assuming there were accurate informations to the military, I think before the bomb blast exposed, military might have countered it. Now, our past dates in Abuja here, the military, that is in army, they caught some group of Boko Haram members in Nyanya area. Because why? They were trying to attack a soldier that is well equipped. How can you see that? Because maybe they've assured the Boko Haram that yes, you've used charms and all that, it will work. When they shoot you, it will not enter. But that the case was reversed, because when they tried to attack the military man unarmed, you understand? The military man had to revoke, even shot at the Boko Haram to tell you that their jams are all fake. You understand? So what my aspect here is, citizens should give accurate information to the government, likewise government to its citizens. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your contribution there. So Dozie, just to you too, and if you'd make yours as brief or even if shorter than that of Osai.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you, but you're back in the light and the camera is actually covering your face.
Okay.
Yeah, you're more visible now.
Yeah, but you can hear me. The audio is good?
Yeah, it's good. Go ahead.
Okay. If I believe we are talking about the state of the nation,
exactly.
And my ideas are the nation is facing a lot issues about insecurity, about poverty, about inequality. Inequality is being faced in several areas of the country because it is our culture. But this inequality is not taking us any far. As soon as things begin to balance, as soon as people begin to love themselves, then they can live as one country. Information is not properly dissipated, and sometimes wrong informations are being dissipated. For example, a few days ago, there was an aircraft that was displayed by Channels Television that it was destroyed. It was faulty. Such information should not be made to the general public. Boko Haram will see this information and they will be happy, they will rejoice that they are winning this war. We have been careless. Our security organizations should be a little bit careful, should be a little bit nation-minded. They should desire to work for the nation. I'm happy. I'm in support of the new desire to bring in more young people into the army. Is not an army of beat in the office and those who did not go to school go back and die.
Dozie, we're losing you. We're losing your audio.
Those who went to South Front. Why those? Can you hear me now?
All right, go ahead. We can hear you now.
You can hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, we can.
The nation is rich. The nation has enemies, both inside and outside. It's a nation with a lot of people, different sectional ideas. It's a nation with Christians in the south and Muslims in the north. This is how I didn't mean there are no Muslims in the south, but I'm saying that, like his friend, another man wants to go abroad, he wants to go to Saudi Arabia. A man from, for example, Bayelsa, he wants to travel, he wants to go to the United States. We all know this. We have sectional ideology. We are different. But the only way is to love ourselves. The only way is to remove sectionality behind and actually put nation building as a forward to what we project.
Well, we seem to be losing his audio. I mean, it's breaking, and it's been breaking. His praying had to come back.
I believe I just make a summary. In conclusion, we should be more nation minded. We should be more nation minded. Not individuality. We should make the nation habitable for ourselves. If we do these things ordinarily, insurgency will disappear.
All right, Dozie.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for joining the Hangout. Of course, I'll remind you again, it's a Channels Beam production. It's a Channels Beam Hangout, and part of this Hangout will be broadcast on Monday, 3:30 p.m. on Channels Television. Martins, I can see your comment. You want to comment on Benga's earlier argument, and but I would have loved to let you do so, but we've run out of so much. I mean, we've run out of time, and I guess we would have to do that next time. So thank you once more for joining the Hangout. If you're not following us on Twitter, I would put in the chat box our Twitter handle. It's at Channels Beam. So you follow us on Twitter, and you get updates as to what we're doing and as to what we are discussing week in, week out. You can also follow me on my own Twitter handle. It's at Victor_. So guys, again, Abraham, you're calling from Hull in London. Thank you for joining. From Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso, thank you for joining the Hangout as well. Martins Obono Mbaseke, calling from England. Okay, you're calling from Wales at the moment, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you for joining. Merit is calling from England as well. Abdul Latif is calling from Texas in the United States. Osai is in Abuja, and Sonny is in Dubai. Thank you guys, and thank you for coming once more on the Hangout. Of course, we do appreciate all of you who were watching on the YouTube stream. You can send your questions using the Channels Beam hashtag. I can see comments coming through the chat box. Better Nigeria. That's from Dozie. Dozie actually had some fans while he was making his submission. But then, thank you for joining one more time. Goodbye. I am Victor Mathias.